Imagine sitting on a cold, creaking bathroom floor, staring at a small plastic stick that holds the power to either make your life or break your soul. For most people, a pregnancy test is a moment of nerves, but for Willa, it's the center of a black hole that's slowly swallowing her entire world. She sits there, tapping her leg until her skin turns purple, waiting for two lines that never seem to come. This isn't just about wanting a child anymore. This is a descent into a psychological hell where the line between a nursery and a tomb completely disappears. To understand how Willa got here, you have to look at the life she's built, or rather the life she's dismantled. She used to be a veterinary technician, a woman with a career and a loving husband named Rhen. But for the last 10 months, Willa hasn't been a person. She's been a vessel waiting to be filled. She quit her job because the stress was supposedly keeping her from conceiving. She spent her days in a self-imposed prison, a spare bedroom she painted a soft, creamy peach color, the exact shade of a newborn's skin. She sits in a rocking chair in the middle of a room filled with diapers, toys, and clothes for a human being that doesn't exist. But Willa isn't alone in that peach-colored room. There's a voice. It's deep, mocking, and cold, and it's been whispering in the back of her mind since she was 17. It tells her she's broken. It tells her she's a failure. And as the months of negative tests pile up, the voice starts telling her something even more dangerous, that her husband, Rhen, is the enemy. Rhen is the guy trying to hold the walls up while they crumble. He's the one hiding the pregnancy tests because he knows that if he doesn't, Willa will dig through the trash to stare at the negative result until her eyes trick her into seeing a positive. He tries to be supportive, but you can see the exhaustion in his eyes. He's watching the woman he loves turn into a ghost who obsesses over sunlight killing her folic acid and dust bunnies that seem to giggle from under the couch. The tension in their house is thick enough to choke on. Willa has become a shadow, drifting through a darkened house with the curtains drawn tight, living in a world of shadow cats rubbing against her legs and spiders crawling through the laundry. Her reality is fraying at the edges, and the first major tear happens at a park. She meets her friend Courtney, who has a real breathing baby named Isaac. But when Willa looks at Isaac, she doesn't see her friend's son. She sees Oliver. In her mind, that's her baby. She watches Courtney with a predatory intensity, the voice in her head screaming that Courtney has 2 kids and can surely spare one. She almost does it. She almost takes him, but she pulls back at the last second, leaving the park with a hunger that's starting to look like madness. Everything reaches a breaking point on Christmas. While the rest of the world is wrapped in warmth and family, Willa is drowning. After a disastrous dinner with her mother-in-law, where every look feels like a judgment, Willa returns home and retreats to her sanctuary, the bathroom floor. She takes another test, and this time, through the haze of her psychosis, she finally sees it. 2 lines, a plus sign. Whatever she's been praying for has finally arrived. She runs to Rhen, her heart pounding, showing him the plastic stick like it's a holy relic. But Rhen doesn't cheer. He doesn't pull her into a hug. He looks at her with a look of pure soul-crushing pity. He tells her the truth. The test is negative. They are all negative. He tells her she needs help, that she's losing her mind. In that moment, the voice in Willa's head doesn't just whisper, it roars. It tells her that Rhen is trying to steal her joy, that he's the one standing in the way of her motherhood. The scene becomes a blur of screaming, shadows, and a sudden, violent shift in the atmosphere of the house. Suddenly, the story skips. We find Willa back in the Peach Nursery. She's happy, she's calm, she's rocking a baby named Oliver. She talks to him, coos at him, and finally feels like a complete woman. But something is wrong. Oliver is too quiet, he's pale, he won't wake up. Panicked, Willa grabs a diaper bag, straps Oliver into a car seat, and drives like a maniac to the emergency room. The hospital scene is where the cinematic horror truly peaks. Willa bursts through the doors, disheveled and frantic, clutching the car seat, which is draped in a thick blanket. She's begging the receptionist for help, but she can't provide a birth date or medical records. The staff's faces go from concerned to horrified. They aren't seeing a mother in distress, they're seeing a woman in the middle of a total break from reality. When a nurse tries to take the car seat to check on the baby, Willa snaps. The voice tells her the nurses are murderers, that they want to kill her son. She becomes a whirlwind of violence, kicking and screaming as security guards try to pin her down. It takes 4 grown men to hold her onto a gurney as she's injected with a massive dose of ketamine. As the world fades to black, she's still screaming for Oliver. Willa wakes up in a cold, sterile room. No peach walls, no rocking chair, just a detective sitting across from her. This is where the floor drops out from under the audience. The detective tells her that there was no Oliver. The car seat was empty, or perhaps held a doll. The details of her delusion are so thick she can't even remember. But that's not the reason she's in handcuffs. "We've opened a murder investigation," the detective says, "and you're the primary suspect." The realization hits like a physical blow. That night on Christmas, when Rhen told her the truth, he didn't just walk out. In her psychotic break, fueled by the voice that had finally taken full control, Willa had killed him. The shadow she thought was her protector had turned her into a monster. The story ends with Willa alone in a cell, waiting for the medication that the doctors say will make the voice go away. She wants the silence. She wants the voice to shrink until it's a tiny speck that can no longer bite. But even as the warm fuzziness of the meds begins to wash over her, her last conscious thought isn't about Rhen, or the life she destroyed, or the crime she committed. She's still looking around the cell, whispering to herself, wondering where they've hidden Oliver. It's a haunting look at how the mind can create a beautiful lie to cover up a hideous truth. But it leaves us with a question that lingers long after the story ends. At what point does a tragedy become a choice? Was Willa a victim of a chemical imbalance she couldn't control, or did she let her obsession open a door that she knew she could never close? If you saw someone you loved slipping away into a world of shadows, how far would you go to pull them back before they took you down with them? Let's talk about it in the comments, because this is one story that doesn't just stay on the page, it gets under your skin.